actually for Berlin, it was really hard because while Germany is really good, I'm also a vegetarian. While Germany's really good with vegan, vegetarian, actually, I brought a lot of food with me, just packed it in my carry-on.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of bagels and rolls and stuff and everything. And it's my first time doing a 3-day carb load before a marathon too. So, and I was actually getting to the start line and my friends were walking me to like the security checkpoint and I was like chewing on like an energy bar or something. I was like, I'm so tired of chewing right now.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. We know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the clip out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 283. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hello.
Hello.
How was your Halloween?
Pretty uneventful. Yourself?
Oh, you know, the same. Besides you scaring the crap out of our poor dog.
Okay, listen. It was just a little tiny automated spider, you know, and I didn't...
Little?
I mean...
It was not little. She bought one of those like things at Home Depot. It wasn't Home Depot, but one of those like
Spirit Halloween.
There we go. And it was like this motion activated spider. And so when the people would come to the door, it would jump out at you and like make a noise. And as you can tell, it's the height of hilarity to her. And I was like, and you bought it in like, I guess June.
I did
and I was like, you can't just, I'm like, the Amazon people are going to stop delivering things to us if you give them a heart attack every time they approach the door.
Well, when the one guy screamed, I turned off the spider.
Once she realized it could affect her Amazon deliveries, shit got real, right? She's just like, well, hang on a second. I thought Tom was just a big pussy.
I didn't think people would genuinely be scared by it. I wasn't trying to scare anyone.
It jumps out at you.
But I mean, it makes a whole noise before
right.
it starts to jump. Like
and so
it's not like it's a quick thing. Like it's like it revs up. Like it announces itself that it's happening. I don't get scared that easily. So I don't know. I can't really.
Come Halloween, you turn it back on, and it scared the crap out of our poor dog. And she would just go and run and jump in your lap every time somebody came to the door, which is not her general MO. And then I'm also like, what are you running to her for? She's the one that bought the damn spider.
Because I'm a good comforter. That's why.
You're like one of those firefighters who's secretly an arsonist. Like, you're burning down buildings so you can be the hero by putting out the fire.
Oh my God, are you jealous, Tom?
You bought a spider to scare the dog, and then you're like, I'll save you, puppy.
I mean, she loves me. What can I say?
Yeah, she wouldn't love you if she saw the receipt for the spider.
She knows who brought the box home.
Well, but when the box came home, it wasn't scary. It was just a box.
She's all okay now.
Yes, because Halloween's over and the spider's gone.
Oh, this is such a funny thing that was happening. Everybody was
doing the Spirit Halloween meme costume. So we made some with the help of a graphic designer because we don't have those skills.
No, we do not.
But I surprised you with these. You
did.
Know. So people that are watching on YouTube can see these, or maybe you saw them in our group where we shared them on your Instagram. So, but we had a crystal costume, and it includes headphones, a microphone, a giant smile, an inordinate amount of patience for a spouse, and a giggle.
Which everyone said should have been a squee.
And then for me, because Lord knows everyone wants to go like me, it includes headphones, microphone, chicken tenders, a graphic tee, and, of course, dick jokes.
My favorite is Peloton equipment not needed.
Right. Yours says Peloton equipment not included. Mine says Peloton equipment not needed for what I think obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So that was just our little fun with the holiday. So what, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
And we've got a fun interview coming up with Karen Brady, also known as KJ.
Okay.
We have the earnings call recap. We have to talk about a little Kanye resurgence, the new boarding system that Peloton New York put into place and Peloton London already has in place, Peloton and Dick's. And then Peloton.
This is more people commenting on Kanye?
There's a bunch of things going on that we need to update you about. There is also Dr. Jenn. She's visiting, and we are going to talk about navigating menopause and perimenopause. I've
been wondering how.
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to need some help. And we also have a ton of updates from all the instructors. I am super excited to talk about Tobias. And then MetPro, Angelo drops by, and we talk about losing weight while remaining fueled enough to train hard. And so lots of celebrity updates, all kinds of things.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us while you're there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode, and maybe leave a review. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. You can also, if you're so inclined, join our Patreon, where you can get these episodes ad-free. You can get them early when they're available to us early. We push them out early. We also finally started our Clip Out Patreon group for just Patreon members to comment on things. So that's fun. And you can do that at theclipout.com/Patreon. You can also watch these episodes at youtube.com/theclipout. And finally, oh yeah, our newsletter. I knew there was one more thing. I was like, I know that there's one more, but I don't remember. Okay. We've got a newsletter you can sign up for at our website, theclipout.com. And I know we throw a lot of links at you and stuff during an episode. And if you're trying to figure out where to find them, you will get them sent to you on Sunday mornings more often than not.
You've been good for a long time.
I've been good for a while. And
so glad you took that over.
They just show up in your inbox, easy peasy. So there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
Yes, let's.
Peloton in the news.
So the earnings call just ended. So this portion of the show was recorded after everything else you'll hear. Mm-hmm. So if we ended up accidentally repeating ourselves or saying something that no longer makes any sense, blame it on the earnings call or me not paying attention, because that's my brand.
Yeah. So the reports came out today. And basically, everything for Q2 was down. So because of that, the markets plunged 19% right away before the markets even opened. It seems to me that none of this is super new information that came out of the earnings report. Yes, the guidance was slightly adjusted, but nothing was that terrible.
Yeah.
At least that was my impression looking at the overview of the numbers. So the sales are going to be lower than what was expected in Q2. And it's also down about 37% from a year earlier. And let's see here. The first fiscal quarter revenue declined 23% to $616.5 million, which was less than the average Wall Street estimate of $641 million. So it was $616.5 million, and the average estimate had been $641 million. Okay. So it's less than the estimate. And it had declined 23%. But the revenues from subscriptions climbed 36%, but the hardware fell 60%. So the adjusted loss before interest was $33.4 million.
So it seems like the increased subscription revenue comes from the price increase?
Well, that's not what I just said, but it is, I think, the answer, because it says while subscription revenue increased, overall app subscriptions declined and fell 11% from the fourth quarter of last year to 875,000.
So it just seems if app subscriptions are down and hardware sales are down, but subscription revenue is up, that just seems like price increase.
Yeah. Connected fitness subscription is up, though, 19%. And the members overall grew 6% on an annualized basis, but fell 3% just from last quarter. So It's a lot of mixed signals. But,
it is, yeah.
But I do think that means that, okay, subscription went up overall, but I think that's, like you said, because of the pricing. And I think overall you're seeing connected fitness go up. And then I think you're seeing some subscriptions go down. So the goal is still to get to break even for free cash flow by the second half of fiscal 2023. That will be June of 2023. And, he kind of says the main point, he being Barry, when we reach our goal, investors can stop talking about financial viability of the business and focus on the growth. And I think his point there is Peloton has said, we do not want to grow until we have financial stability. So first we focus on getting the cash flow under control.
Riding the ship.
Then we grow.
Yeah.
And so, they're being purposeful about that. And that was reiterated today in the call.
Yeah. I mean, he said point blank, we are not focused on growth right now. Like we're focused on fixing things. And which, I mean, I guess ultimately, while it might be frustrating for investors, it ultimately makes sense because if you haven't fixed things, but you start growing, that's
you're just going to have more problems.
You're going to have more problems. Yes, there'll be more money coming in, but you're going to end up right back in the situation as soon as you contract.
Exactly. So some interesting things that occurred. One, they went straight to questions again. I always find that fascinating when they do that because, John used to do a whole spiel before we got into that. Also, they talked a lot about the rental model, fitness as a service. And Barry went on to say that there are a lot of unanswered questions about the long-term benefit to the company. But the interesting thing was 175 signups a day on average are coming in through fitness as a service. And they're attracting a whole new demo they've never been able to reach with Peloton. So they're expanding their TAM.
I would have liked more information on what that demo is.
Younger. It's got to be younger. What you think it is? I do, because he has said something to that effect before. I don't remember exactly what the quote was because it was last quarter, but something to the effect of that they're getting younger people is coming in, and
that's good because if anything we've seen with brand loyalty, if you get them young, they stick with you. I mean, I've told the story before, but like when I was a freshman in college, Gillette gave us razors with our fraternity's letters on it, and I use Gillette razors to this day.
You do.
And so, just because that's my habit, not because I'm still like, yay, but it created a habit, and that's what I do. I buy Gillette. So I do think that's also smart long term. It won't maybe not benefit Barry, but it might benefit the guy 3 berries from now.
Well, he also said an interesting statistic. 30% of new subscribers are coming from fitness as a service. I find that absolutely fascinating.
Yes, totally.
They're expecting to see this payback occur in about 12 to 18 months. A huge, huge, huge piece of this that was very low key, delivered very low key.
Yeah.
They're completely relaunching the digital app in January. New year, new app.
Yeah.
And it's all going to be a tiered app. What have I been saying? I have been saying this for so long. So he is saying that they are going to have this new tiered subscription rate, and that premium is going to look very different than it does right now. So don't know what that looks like yet.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very curious to see it. And he is also saying that it's going to gain access to users of competitive products by doing this. So I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, by relaunching their digital app strategy, they expect that they are going to attract more users of the competition because it's going to be cheaper at that entry point, is my take on that. So if you're a person who uses Nordic Track.
Okay, of physical equipment.
Yes. Okay. Yes, that's what he said.
Yeah. And so the way I heard it was not only was that like the plan, but that was the goal. Like,
absolutely.
He said they're going to lean into it. So that makes me think their marketing campaign is going to have some component of like, Peloton. It's not just for Pelotons anymore. And,
I think so, because he said they have not marketed it the best.
Right.
They've never marketed that, actually, is what he said.
And they certainly have never like just doubled down on get the app. We don't care what hardware you use. And so I think that will be a very interesting shift to watch.
I agree.
But again, we said this a while back when Barry came in, right? We said that like Netflix doesn't care if you're watching on a Samsung or a Panasonic. And I think that's the mentality that you're going to see play out with Peloton.
Well, and he also said, hey, if you want us to get to 100 million users, this is what we got to do.
Right.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. So then they talked a little bit about the guide, how it's doing. And they said that they really haven't figured out the best way to market it, and that the brand awareness of the guide is very low. They haven't really leaned into it. So I think there's a lot of potential for that to get better. And then they talked about the rower, and this was, I thought this was funny because I've been saying this for a while too, that the demand is going to outpace the units they have to sell. In other words, if you don't already have your order in, be prepared to wait.
Yeah.
Because they are already outpacing demand. It's been very critically well received.
And hopefully they're delivering them in the order they were ordered.
They better freaking be.
Because I have to live with her. So
yeah. Barry, day one, I deserve my rower. I deserve my rower.
The instant it was up.
Instant.
You have to be one of the first like 0.5% of people that bought.
Yeah, because I wasn't the one going, I don't know. And they rolled out the rowers to all of the showrooms yesterday. So if you have a showroom, you should now have a rower. And he expects that demand is going to continue to grow as the exposure to the row continues to grow. And I totally think that, because everybody that's tried it, with the exception of what I heard last week from the regatta, everybody that's tried it loves it. It's amazing. So they talked about higher churn, but it's like kind of like not important because you kind of have to ignore the fitness as a service. They said the growth was not very ambitious, that long term they want it to be higher, but they did it on purpose to keep it. They want it to be limited because they want to focus on the financial viability of the company first. So that's going to be a whole thing. They're still not doing a full year guidance, but they said that they do expect to see seasonality like they do every year. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, they had a fire drill right about this time. Yeah. Like a literal fire drill.
Yeah, that's not a metaphor.
I know, but I was like, somebody's going to write about that, about how there was a fire drill in the middle of the call and make a joke. Okay, so then they talked about Dick's and Amazon and what that looks like. I thought this was fascinating because, one, Amazon is performing way better than their expectations.
I also thought it was interesting that they said Amazon buys
That's
the
what
product.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
So they went into, they don't know what's going to happen with Dick's yet because like it just happened.
Yeah.
But they have
Dicks are unpredictable.
Right? You never know what you're going to get until you see it. Yeah. But the expectations are very high. They said that when they talked about the third party, Amazon and Dick's Sporting Goods, they said that there are two different models. So Amazon buys the bikes up front and then they resell them, which means Peloton gets to recognize the revenue for the bike when Amazon buys them. It's a wholesale model.
But not the subscription.
Yes, not the subscription. So you're seeing a lag time on subscriptions until Amazon sells them. But Dick's Sporting Goods does not work that way. They send the order to Peloton directly, and then Peloton fulfills it in the same way that they typically would. And they also explained that there's like marketing in there that they have to do for Amazon in particular, but that's not under the marketing like financial line. That actually comes out as a reduction to revenue instead of in the marketing line, just because of the way they have it all sorted out in their financials. So I thought that was fascinating too. So let's see. They talked about the timing of the cash flow and the profit and loss, and that's going to take time. They're hoping by the end of the year they see something, but you got to realize that seeing those cost of goods get better or seeing the gross margin improve is going to be the longer than the cash improving. And that the storage costs will improve as inventory lowers.
Well, that makes sense. You don't have anything left to store.
Right. Right. I also thought it was interesting that there was a question about like how Barry organizes things. So he said that there is no piece of the business that has not been reorganized. He also talked about the changes that they had made led to some people leaving, and they are currently searching for a new head of marketing.
And in the interim, everyone reports to him in marketing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He talked about how fitness as a service and CPO is very complicated. And then somebody talked about the profile of churn. And he was like, I don't focus on that. That's all Jenn Cotter. And if it's not broken, I'm not focusing on it. And there is absolutely nothing broken about it. So that was a huge props to Jenn Cotter. He said he does focus on personalization. We will talk about this later in the show about tests that tests are occurring due to personalization, but there are more in progress. And he believes there is not anything wrong with engagement, but that doing more personalization will continue to lead to more engagement, which will continue to lead to more people buying Peloton.
Yeah.
And then somebody asked about, like, are we going to have more in-person classes, more in-person abilities? And he basically said, nope, we're going to do that with the digital app, which again is what I've been saying for a long time. So for those of you still hoping for other studios, I don't think that's going to happen.
It's just an expense, I think, at this point that isn't needed.
Yeah, he said that doing it with the digital app would be much better than a rev share with commercial business. And they would also have to pay much higher music licensing fees.
Yeah.
And so doing it this way allows them to keep the costs lower. That makes perfect sense.
It
and
does.
They said they'd spent a fair amount of time thinking about this. So it's not like there's not discussion around it, which is good. There should be discussion
For sure.
around
Like
it.
it's not just dismissed out of hand. Like they've had the same thoughts and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And they talked about liquidated inventory and that people were saying, oh, well, it should get better by the end of the year because you're liquidating all the inventory. And he was like, yeah, but we had all those supplier settlements because we changed our order levels. So that kind of netted those two things out. He also went on to say, again, restructuring is done. No more heads to be taken out. But then Liz popped in and said, yeah, but don't forget, we're still working through the retail showrooms. And those showroom leases are not so easy to just like snap your fingers and get out of because you have to wait for them to end.
Right.
So that will be an ongoing piece through the end of the fiscal year.
Which was a great clarification because we've been asking that because this is not the first time Barry said restructuring is over.
Mm-hmm.
This is I think he called it the go forward team.
He did.
And I hate business speak.
I know.
But
well, he also said 500 heads were removed.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Ooh, don't yuck.
But especially on the heels of the Dick's announcement. But yeah, we've been asking this question for a while amongst ourselves, right? Like, because he said this before, what's this mean for retail? Does this mean retail is safe? And it does not mean that.
No, it does not. That's still happening. He also talked about purchasing intent is up everywhere except for in Germany. There was a slight hit and he doesn't really know why. This was in regards to specifically the advertising campaign that came out in September.
Yeah.
But he said the bright spot was that their dollars for advertising are going much further than several months ago because that market has softened.
Which I found fascinating because it's an election year and that's not typically how things play out in the advertising world during an election year.
That makes sense, but I will also say we don't usually have going on like what we have going on with the economy. I don't know. Does that, Yeah,
but normally politicians are kind of immune to that because they're, like they have to run. I mean, they've got a window. They've got to run in this window and their money is kind of coming in from people who aren't affected by the economy as much. And so it's, deep pockets. And so.
Well, he also said, though, that it's more media impressions per dollar spent. So
right.
I don't know if that could be a different take on what you're saying. Like it doesn't necessarily mean they're spending less, but
maybe they tend to advertise in places that don't get as much political dollars. And so
no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. That just caught my ear because I know when I try to buy ads for what I do, it's really difficult every other year because of elections. Midterms are bad. Presidential are worse. So,
and then he went on to talk about the subs margin and how it's down a bit, but that's mostly due to higher music licensing fees, and that is due to subscription growth. So that also makes sense. And they expect inventory to decline quarter by quarter, but keep in mind they will still need to buy some, like for the rower. And then somebody asked about gated classes, and I was just fascinated because he was just like, not going to talk about it, but I will tell you that there will be a new premium content, and yes, there will be gated classes. And I was like, yep.
I'm not going to talk about it, but spoiler alert, deal. Deal with it.
Yep. So be prepared because lots of people are going to be complaining about that.
Yeah.
There was some boring stuff about G&A, but basically the important part I took away from this was Barry was like, our G&A is broken. Those were his exact words. He said that.
And G&A for people means?
It's like general expenses, like
okay.
general stuff. And he said that they need to, that in his mind, there's a path forward to fixing it. And it's related to IT. There are several things that need to be fixed. And once those are fixed, that becomes the pathway to lowering G&A. And then somebody asked about self-assembly and and like, how is that being received? And they were like, well, no one's complaining. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
It was.
Yeah. No news is good news.
But I also think they're a little bit removed from it. They said there's lots of good star reviews on Amazon. But remember, since Amazon is selling them as a wholesale model, I do think Peloton is a little bit removed from that.
Sure.
So anyway, super interesting.
But I think if they were getting lots of complaints, then Amazon would probably say something, because then Amazon would be like, well, we have to fix all these things that we don't want to fix. So
it's fair.
If it was a statistically significant amount, I feel like that's
awesome. All.
There you go. There's the earnings report. So hot off the presses. So there's all that. I guess we will now return you to your regularly scheduled clip out, already in progress. So you got an email from a listener.
I did.
About Kanye stuff.
Yeah.
And so don't worry, we're not rehashing.
No. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. So this listener pointed out that in their feed, they were getting recommended Kanye stuff.
Yes. So that encouraged me. That made me want to go reach out to a Peloton spokesperson and say, hey, how did this happen? Because
say, what up, dude? Or dudette?
Because last we heard, Peloton had said any kind of proactive recommendations Kanye was not going to be included on. And yet
Correct.
We had evidence that kind of looked like it was the opposite of that. So Peloton was very responsive. Yay, Peloton.
Yes.
And they explained that basically there is a whole lot of testing that goes on in the background, and a lot of
Barry
times
loves his testing.
He loves his A/B test.
Yes.
But I'm guessing that this probably happened even before.
For sure.
Barry.
Yeah.
Who knows how many times I got the impression from talking to the spokesperson today that there are a lot of times that we are getting things served to us and we don't even know it's a test.
Yeah.
In the process of that testing, those constantly iterating that they're doing, it seems that the person who posted this was actually being served a test about personalization. So when they suppressed Kanye from being not included in proactive recommendations, they did that, but they did not include Kanye in that test.
And it was like, it slipped by.
Yeah.
they forgot while running this test that like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be turned off.
Yeah. So again, it was a personalization test, and that means that it was, served to a very small number of people.
Yeah. I believe in the IT world, that's called an oopsadoodle.
An oopsadoodle.
An oopsadoodle, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a technical term.
I hate to get off in the weeds like that. I just like to show off my expertise sometimes.
Are you sure it wasn't a whoopsie doopsie?
Oh, come on. That's ridiculous.
I was just checking.
I mean, see, this is why you have guys explain this stuff.
Tom. Oh my God. I can't believe you said that.
So, oopsadoodle is the correct nomenclature. A whoopsie-daisy is just crazy pants.
Okay, but I do want to say one more thing about this. During this conversation, it just kind of got me thinking about the fact that I know whenever this whole thing came up with Kanye, somebody pointed out to me that there were 1,300 songs that Kanye was credited for. So 1,300 classes that you could pull up and Kanye songs would be a part of.
Okay.
But one thing I did not think about was that it would impact members who took classes of instructors that use Kanye a lot. So like Alex has come out and said, hey, I'm not going to be using Kanye in my classes. We know that's a Peloton thing, not just Alex thing. But he has said Kanye was a big, like had some of his favorite hype songs. So he'd use Kanye a lot. And I believe Adrian Williams did too. So I think it would have hit some instructors harder than others. It wouldn't have just been 1,300 classes that were removed. It also would have been like a large segment of classes from certain instructors. And I think that that's important to remember. And I didn't think about this either, but what happens whenever Kanye is like a producer on an album?
Yeah. Or maybe he wrote a song.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, where is that line? And I don't know the answer to it. I think it's kind of a subjective thing, but like I recently found out that Kanye collaborated with Lizzo. Well, I am not giving up Lizzo. That's not happening. I don't know that makes me, maybe there's people that would think I'm a bad person for that, but I'm not giving up Lizzo. That's not happening. So I hope that they keep it the way they've done it. I don't want them to make any other changes because I need my Lizzo in my life.
But yeah, he has a writing credit on You Don't Know My Name by Alicia Keys.
Oh.
And I Want You by Janet Jackson.
Oh.
Go by Common. So these are songs he's not on. Heaven by John Legend. Comfortable by Lil Wayne. Sorry.
Yeah, get the Lil
Wayne. Show Me Good Time by Drake.
Oh.
Holy Water by Madonna.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot of credits.
Yeah.
Don't take all these songs.
Accelerate by Christina Aguilera.
Wow.
So, I mean, and also, like, you know how in today's world, there's so many people that get writing credits on songs. I'm looking at this Christina Aguilera song, which I'm not familiar with, but like, this isn't my genre of choice, right? I'm a rock guy. But
you have like one Christina Aguilera song in your playlist.
Yeah. And, but the writing credits on this particular song, Kanye West, Christina Aguilera, Mike Dean, Jay Pope, Ernest Brown, Carlton Mays Jr., Bibby Borley, Ilse Jubber, Tyler Parks, Tyrone Griffin Jr., Tauheed Epps, and Kirby Lauren Dockery. I think it takes longer to read the names of people who wrote the song than it does to play the song.
That's a lot of people.
But so there's a lot of things out there that he might be affiliated with that you don't even know.
Yeah. I think it's a tough question.
Yeah.
I know we said that before, but I just got to thinking about it a little more.
Yeah, but thanks to this listener for bringing this to our attention, because it was definitely something that, you know, makes you go, did he write that too? No. He'd have been like 15. But yeah, like it was just a little mistake that they fixed, and it's not a change in policy already or hypocrisy. It was just an oops, and they're fixing it. And by the time you hear this, it should be completely rectified.
Yep.
So, yeah. Moving on, we have a new boarding system of sorts in place for how you access bike classes when you're in studio in New York.
Yeah. Okay. So I found out that also London is using this as well.
Okay.
But my understanding for New York is that this was recently instituted, and it seems to only be for cycling classes, not the others. Doesn't mean it won't be added to other classes. But
it's probably an as needed thing. It doesn't seem like people are as heated about treads and yoga.
Well, yeah, I think that is true. So I had written an article, and we have talked about like what the process looks like to get into one of these classes. It is not easy, but once you are in a class and you get to the studio, you still have a little bit of decision making that you need to do. Like, do you want to be in the very front? Because if you do, like if you want to be on camera, on one of the bikes on camera, you are going to need to be at the very front of the line.
Right.
Now, when I went to the studio, which was not that long ago, they said, I mean, the way that happened was first come, first serve, whoever got there first.
Yeah.
Now, what they are doing is they ask you at the front desk, like, do you have a milestone or a birthday? And if you do, you get placed in boarding group A. And then that group goes into the studio, the door is closed. Once they get settled, the door is opened and boarding group B goes in. Boarding group B is for first timers at the studio. And then boarding group C is for everybody else.
Gotcha.
And just for the record, I think that should be flipped. I think first timers should get first choice on the bike.
I agree wholeheartedly because one, everybody has a first time. That's universal, right? And so, and because a lot of times people will be like, oh, what if you're out of town? You don't get to come here very often. And the locals are like, but if you favor them, then locals never get to go first, right? So like local or not, everybody gets a first time, and milestones are so easy to game if somebody wants to be like that. Yes.
Well, and I think it's important also. I don't even know that I can call it gaming, because here's the thing. You get on the bike and you're doing a class. And yes, it's different than it used to be, but I definitely don't think that we should shame people for taking shorter classes. And I know that's not what you meant, Tom, but there are people that do.
Yeah, like I'm not shitting on people for taking shorter classes based on their schedule, their capabilities, whatnot, their goals, right? Like, but it's easy to game if your goal is to get one of the quote unquote good bikes. Then you could sit there and take a bunch of 5-minute classes and then be like, now I'm at 900 and then now I'm at 950.
Basically, if you are a person who lives close enough to be able to go often and you're able to book a class often, you could have a milestone every time you go.
Yes, I don't think taking a short class in and of itself is gaming the system, but I think people could use the availability of short classes to structure their visits in a way that allows them to get bikes more than they should.
I agree. And I heard from a lot of people in this, there are OGs and there are people who are local that feel like, yeah, well, back in the day, we could do it very differently and Peloton needs to open up the studio and have a lot more classes. And I mean, I agree that would be nice, but I don't think that's ever going to happen again. So we got to deal with reality, and that ain't it. There's more demand than ever and less supply than ever. So this is what it is.
Also the downside of birthdays, right? If your birthday that year doesn't happen to fall on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then you're not even in the mix.
Exactly. And then of course there's times that the studios are just closed. There are no rides during some people's birthdays, so that happens. And I think that's why I think first timers should always get priority, because there are people, especially that bought during the pandemic, that have never been. And, it's, for some of us, it's not a small feat to get to the studio if you do manage to get a class. So I really think those should come first.
That being said, let's also say we've heard reports of it starting to get a little ugly.
Yeah.
As people jockey for position. So while we might think that there's a potentially better system that in which they could prioritize people, it's also good that they're doing something to address it.
I think something's got to be done. Yeah, because, I mean, apparently there was some kind of quote unquote fight that occurred. And let me be clear, I have no idea if that was a verbal thing, if that was like, somebody got pushy. I don't know.
Fight can get used a lot of ways. It can be a physical altercation. It can just people.
It could be somebody raise their voice across the studio.
Yeah, somebody gets snarky. Remember when your daughter used to, anything I said that she didn't like, I yelled
at me.
I yelled at her. I remember when you were thinking I yelled at her all the time, and then one time we're saying something, you were like, "Wait, Sydney, is he yelling at you right now?"
And she was like, "Yes."
You're like, "But he's not."
I was like, "Okay, we got to work on your definition of yelling." Yeah. But yes, I don't take that too seriously. But what I do take from that is that it's not always a situation where everyone agrees on who should get the bike. And, there are people that I have seen on screen. They've been a lot of times. Yeah. And I don't like watching them push their way to the front.
Sometimes in the same weekend.
Yeah. Some people, they really take advantage. And it's gross. So, I don't like that. I don't appreciate it. When I was there, I had 3 classes, and one of which I wanted something on screen. Everything else I got there when I got there. I didn't. And I only had 2 because I knew everybody else wanted classes. And I wanted to also experience the city. I don't want my whole weekend to be Peloton. But anyway, everybody's got to make their own decisions and do it their own way. I also want to say there are also plenty of locals who are of the opinion that, hey, people from out of town should get those bikes, and there are times that those people have given up their bikes so that other people can take those classes. So,
and that's great if that's what they want to do, but it also, you know, that can get taken advantage of real easy to the point where a local will never get a bike, and that's not cool either.
That's not.
Everybody should be able to experience that at some point.
And I believe Peloton has completely stopped doing that. They are no longer transferring classes anymore.
Gotcha.
Because it did get used so much, so they don't want to do it anymore. So anyway, the major point is they're trying to control this to some degree so that's fair for everybody. I'm sure we will continue to see changes as it gets rolled out, but I'm glad they're doing something.
Yeah, because that's a situation that's only going to get worse.
Yep.
So if you love Peloton and you love Dick's, you are in for a treat.
You are. You can take the workout out of workouts. Yeah, the partnership officially began this week. People got emails, I believe it was Monday morning, from Dick's Sporting Goods saying, "Hey, you can get a gift card, you can earn $40 back, and Peloton is now available at Dick's."
Ta-da!
It's a lot of restraint, Tom. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
I feel like I already told a bunch of them, so
Yeah, you don't want to redo jokes.
No, that's not me.
I know.
I would never do that. But this is great, I think, ultimately.
Yes, I agree. I think this is a really good thing. And I also want to point out, this is not all Dick's stores are going to have Peloton. So you go online and check it out. Like, don't assume it's available.
Don't assume all Dick's are the same.
There's going to be some variation.
There's going to be some variation among Dick's. Some are bigger, some are smaller.
And there we go. I knew you couldn't let it go.
Some have been in business for a long time.
Some are new.
Some are really new, right?
So yeah, check before you go.
Some have large staff. Some have lost staff. And during the pandemic, we call those have been cut. Those are Dicks that have been cut. Some Dicks are uncut, and they still have full staffing.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Explaining all that.
I think the Dicks they at those particular stores, they wear turtlenecks.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. Just for clarification purposes.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you want a Peloton, you can go to Dick's and splurge.
Oh my God!
What?
Next.
Next Dick?
Oh my God.
You started it. You expressed disappointment.
I was, I got nothing.
So Peloton is now advertising with Uber.
Yeah, so I guess Uber recently announced that they were going to have a new division called Journey, and they have an ability to reach up to 122 million users on their platform. So the ads started appearing, but apparently so did those ads appear as a notification.
As like a push notification.
I think that's a whoops-a-daisy.
Yeah, I don't know that it was. I don't know that one was. I think that, if they want to advertise to people and they want to get in front of a bunch of people, if Uber wants to get an advertiser in front of a bunch of people, they don't want to necessarily wait for them to open the app, right? Like
they did say it was a limited test, is what they said in this article. That it was a test and it was a limited test, so probably it didn't happen for everybody. But they also said you can manage your notifications. So if you don't want to see advertisements as part of your notifications, you can turn that off.
They just buried like 19 clicks into their app. I'm sure.
Peloton was one of the ads that got pushed out. So
yeah, it was a test, but then it also wanted you to listen to a Kanye song.
Oh no! It was a whoops-a-daisy.
Yeah. No, that's an oops-a-doodle.
Oh my God!
I've explained all this, but I think Uber's hurting for cash, and so they're trying to figure out ways to generate revenue. So there's something called an ESG report.
Mm-hmm. It's the company's approach to sustainability, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
And this is like a standard. This is like an internationally recognized set of standards.
Okay.
That all organizations that have a report use.
Gotcha. So they did a little rundown on Peloton, and it came back pretty good for their environmental impact.
It did, yeah. So there are 3 things that really stood out that Peloton can help heal the ozone layer because they are reducing their greenhouse gas emissions by 353,000 cubic tons from fiscal year 21 to 22. And a lot of that reduction, almost all, in fact, came from scope 3 emissions, which are emissions from outside direct operations. In other words, changing their supply chain. So
okay.
That's great.
Thank you for translating that into people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Darcy. Also, Peloton gets the planet closer to zero waste. They tested their certified pre-owned bike sales, which we've been talking a lot about, and they've been testing that in U.S. and Germany. They have had much better than expected results. So that keeps all of those bikes out of landfills. Peloton is also exploring ways to expand this program for even more.
And I think that's interesting because in all our discussion about the certified bike program, I mean, I never thought about like, oh, if they weren't doing this, where are those bikes going to end up? So like that's unintended happy consequence. Maybe it wasn't unintended, but it didn't click for me.
Unthought of for us consequence, hopefully not unintended for Peloton.
Yeah.
And one day they could be completely plant powered. They are aimed to source 100% renewable electricity for direct operations by 2026.
I didn't realize a corporation could be vegan.
Well, just to source their electricity. Yeah. A whole corporation. They're just going to be eating corn. But they also had a lot of other impacts. If you can scroll down, there were additional environmental impacts. Since June of 2022, 20% of first-generation bikes were leased under their test rental program. That is 5,000 members with all-access membership. So that's going to help with that circularity, getting more life out of the same equipment. Yeah. And they're working on grassroots efforts to extend the life of used accessories. So they've been working on finding repurposed returned accessories, including shoes, weights, workout mats, etc., on-site team member gyms, and for use by social impact nonprofit partners. They also have some other targets that they are looking toward, like the renewable energy we talked about. They're going to be releasing product carbon footprints for key connected fitness products by 2024. Reducing air freight by 95% from 21 baseline, I hope, because that was a whole, because they were making all their bikes overseas, right, and then they had that big air freight thing, and then they're going to expand the circular business model, like the refurbishment. We're going to see more of that. So they're also filing climate risk assessment questionnaires with the Carbon Disclosure Project, and will continue to report that. There's also a ton of social impacts. This is the June of 2022 was the 2-year anniversary of Peloton Pledge, so they talked about that, and we have talked about that before, so I'm not going to dig really deep into that, like the anti-racism and making sure that they had the pay gaps taken care of, that kind of thing. So keep scrolling. They also had social impact for its members, like instructor-led experiences, Breathe In, Speak Up series, Juneteenth classes, LGBTQIA plus celebration classes, amended community investment goals rather than a fixed budget. They are implementing ongoing evergreen commitment to give 1% of operating income before tax starting in fiscal year 24. And of course, they welcomed Logan Aldridge, first adaptive trainer, new accessibility features on Bike Plus, and Tread. And they did their first annual inclusion survey. So we have all of that in an article that you can see out on theclipout.com. And of course, it will be coming to you in the, what is that thing called?
A newsletter. We now have a new class type.
Yes.
Extra 10.
Yeah, so this is great.
We're talking about dicks again?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is great because it's a new class type that they're adding to the bike and the tread that jumps right into the work. So there's no warm up. So that means you can tack them onto any class. This is important because so many people complain about the fact that, like, you take a 30-minute class, you take 2 30-minute classes to get to a 60-minute, right? You got to warm up you got to sit through the warm up every time. Yeah. And every time you go into the cool down. So this is good because it jumps right in. So if you are just looking to add a little bit extra, this is perfect. Add to your stack.
So we had a story this week come out about John Foley and more insight into what it was looking like towards the end of his tenure. And it says that he had maxed out his pledged shares to cover margin calls.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, it doesn't sound good, but I still think that there's probably a lot of stuff that we just don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and we don't know when these things occurred and when, I mean, anything can things can be written in a certain way to be negative.
Yeah.
But
it's, I mean,
it doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound good.
It was definitely a roller coaster.
It has been. It has been a roller coaster. And I know other people don't agree with me, but I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah. So SNL got another pot shot in at Peloton last week.
They did. And can I just say, I thought it was funny, but I also thought that...
thought it was kind of lazy.
I did think it was lazy. Yeah. And more importantly, people have been questioning, like, is Peloton even still relevant? And I think the fact that when you're still seeing Peloton mentioned as a Saturday Night Live, as you call it, pot shot, they are. They are still relevant. Despite what media wants you to believe, they keep making Peloton mentions and making articles for you to click.
Yes.
But that was really the only reason I brought this up. But I also have to say, if Peloton had not made a statement against Kanye, taking his music down, they did not make a statement against Kanye. If they had not removed some of his music going forward, I really think that then you would be hearing... It
would be a scandal of a different sort.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. You can't please everybody.
Yeah. And if you're going to get in trouble no matter what, do the right thing.
Peloton in court.
So DJ Muggs of Cypress Hill has dropped his infringement lawsuit against Peloton.
I thought this was fascinating. Like, did you read it?
I did. According to the article, Peloton never even responded to the lawsuit. So it doesn't sound, unless there was some sort of behind the scenes shenanigans taking place, it sounds like he filed a lawsuit. They hadn't even gotten around to replying to it yet. And he was like, you know what? Never mind.
I'm good.
And so I don't know if that means, like, was he getting paid and didn't realize it? Was it a clerical error and Peloton was just like, whoops, here, we fixed it? Like another oops-a-daisy, oops-a-doodle?
It could have been. It could have been an oops-a-doodle.
But, and it took me forever to figure out what this headline was saying, because when it comes to the world of music, they use the term drop so often to mean you're releasing something.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, do they mean he dropped an infringement case like he just put one out? Or do they mean he dropped it like...
That's so funny. Your music brain works differently than my business brain. Because that was completely obvious to me.
I originally read it as like, oh, he dropped the lawsuit. And then like the first paragraph is talking about him filing a lawsuit. And I was like, wait, did they really mean drops? Is like... He's filed a lawsuit? Like, I'm really confused. So,
I know that we didn't have this on the list, but I wonder if we should just follow back up real quick on the treadmill lawsuit that was filed last week that we covered.
Oh, yeah. While we're talking lawsuits, this is the right place for it.
We had a call, an anonymous call, from one of our lawyer listeners. And they happen to be a patent attorney. And so they were talking about... There were some things in the agreement specifically that we did not quickly understand from it. One, last week when we talked about it, we were confused because we were like, well, this lawsuit was actually put out there after these patents rather were filed after Peloton came out with their treadmill. And apparently the patents had been filed for back in 2015, possibly going back to 14.
But it's a long and winding process.
Exactly.
And so
you have to start back at the beginning.
Yeah. So you file your patent and then it gets approved 4 or 5 years later. And then you can go back and scoop up the people in the meantime.
Yeah, and apparently the claim had something to do, or the complaint had something to do with how Peloton exchanges data. So it wasn't anything to do with the motor. They shouldn't show pictures of a motor if that's how they're going to be. But it had something to do with the data. So more to come on that whenever things, happen with that lawsuit and become part of public record. But just wanted to drop those little updates in. And thank you to our anonymous attorney.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jenn Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jenn, or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jenn, or The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, right?
Yeah.
Or her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jenn Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jenn's 6-Step Guide to Improving communication, connection, and intimacy. It's Dr. Jenn. Hello.
Hi. Okay, so Stephanie Selinsky reached out, and she says she has questions about menopause and everything that comes with it. Specifically, I think maybe perimenopause and menopause, because she's got sore knees, she's got fatigue, she's just irritated at everything at times, and she says she knows that Tabata and HIIT are saving her. They're supposed to be really good for that, and so she's been doing more of it. But do you have any other suggestions for how she can deal?
A few things. First of all, this is one of those situations where you definitely want to go to your doctor first. You want to make sure, first of all, educate yourself about menopause. I am a big fan of the work of Dr. Jenn Gunther, who talks a lot about menopause and about myths and about a lot of the kind of misinformation that's out there about that. And she has a book out called The Menopause Manifesto. Is actually written with a lot of humor as well as a lot of science. So really making sure that you educate yourself about menopause, because there are so many myths. And, I don't know where she heard that Tabata in particular is helpful with menopause. I haven't personally read any studies about that. I think exercising is helpful with menopause and hormones and any kind of suffering that you're going through related to it. So I think that you, first of all, want to really make sure you separate out the myths from the facts. And if you would enjoy doing a different kind of class, but you're doing Tabata because you think that's the only one that will help you with menopause symptoms, I recommend doing the research and making sure that's the case, because I've never heard anything like that.
Dr. Stacy Sims was recently on the Clip Out, and she has done all these studies about women specifically and how they're different from men and how it helps. Just a very specific note is that it helps reduce your belly fat, because as we age and our hormones start to shift, it helps with the visceral fat, because our hormones aren't doing it anymore. So it's not that you always should be doing Tabata. That would not be accurate. But specifically, sprint interval training can be very effective for visceral fat and a few other things. Sorry, continue.
Okay, well, that's good information. Thank you, because I'd never heard that. But I also think that if you are taking Tabata for that reason, you may do better, and you hate Tabata. You may do better and end up being more consistent and get more benefits from if you're taking multiple classes or longer classes where you end up kind of burning more calories, getting more exercise, getting more cardio benefits, because you're loving the class so much that you're doing it 3 times a week instead of 1 time a week and hating it. So I really want to encourage you to kind of look at kind of that cost benefit analysis, and also to really kind of pin down like what specifically about which menopause symptoms are you hoping to address, and is this the right approach for that? But again, always start with your doctor. Make sure that you go into your doctor's office and ask, what kinds of treatments, traditional, non-traditional, are appropriate for you. And again, kind of, because some of this comes down to kind of basic self-care of making sure you're sleeping enough, that you're eating enough nutritious foods to keep yourself fueled, to make sure that you are making boundaries. Because look, sometimes I think as women, we tend to blame things on our hormones, our period, our menopause, or this, or that, when the truth is that it's more that maybe our resources are thinner because we're exhausted and we're burned out, or that those hormone shifts are bringing us closer to the truth and we don't have the energy to fake it and not make boundaries anymore. So I think that it's important to kind of do some self-reflection and say like, okay, what's menopause and what is just things that need to change in my life? But there are a lot of great options out there. There are a lot of supplements that can be really helpful if you're getting hot flashes, but you also have to be really careful that you don't experiment with things that are not scientific or could be harmful.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think that there's a lot of probably like sham stuff out there looking to take advantage of people.
I think it's tough to, wade through and find the stuff that is the best. I think the book that you suggested was awesome. And I have to say, for people who are looking for a good scientific based kind of primer on what you could be taking that is in the supplement region is Dr. Stacy Sims' Next Level. She talks a lot about adaptogens, which they're not going to be addictive. They're just kind of helping support your immune system, support the things that you're already dealing with, stressors and cortisol level and how you respond to them. And I have been just completely fascinated by that whole topic. So, but it's hard. It's hard to find. Like, where do you find the line that's like good stuff instead of just crazy not science, I should say.
And I think also, like, along those lines is asking your girlfriends who are around the same age, what have they found effective? What has not been effective? And then running it by your doctor before you run out and experiment with it yourself.
So true. And don't call Dr. Google.
Dr. Google can be a blessing and a curse, and you have to be really careful.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, there's a lot of junk science out there, and that's the trickiest because it's going to sound like it makes sense.
Yeah, people can do a lot with words. Marketing. And
Jenn Gunther dispels a lot of those myths on her Instagram, which is one of the many reasons why I love her.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's a really good resource. So that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of that. Until next time, where can people find you?
On all social media, including Instagram, at Dr. Jenn Man, 2 N's on Jenn, 2 N's on Man, and also my weekly column in InStyle magazine called Hump Day with Dr. Jenn.
Wonderful.
Instructors in the news.
Becs Gentry had her baby.
Oh, and what an adorable baby she is. Tallulah Midgley Curtis. And she was born 10/22 at 6:19 p.m. Oh my God. You can see Becs in those eyes. She's so pretty. So pretty. And Tallulah was born exactly 3 weeks early. So Jess King, due on the same day, she's still got 2.5 weeks to go. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe she'll be early too.
I'm sure she's hoping.
Congrats to Becs and Austin. We are so happy for you guys. What a beautiful baby.
So Cody has something new brewing.
He does. We had talked about a while back, people had been getting invites to special things happening in the studio. And apparently it's a new show called LOL Cody. So Cody is going to be getting visits from famous people. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
And he is going to have them on the bike while also having a guest instructor.
So our Cody selves.
Yes. And they're going to play games and have hot takes, whatever that means, and loaded lowdowns. The first episode actually premieres tomorrow night, so it will already be out by the time you're hearing this. Make sure you check it out.
And People Magazine actually wrote about it. Or, I'm sorry, Entertainment Weekly actually wrote about it as well. So
yes, and it was basically just a opportunity to interview Cody. So I didn't see a lot of new information in here, but it's great that he is getting the press for it. We already knew 2 of the guests were going to be Carly Rae Jepsen and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name, Trixie Mattel. And then there have been people that have been guessing who the other 2 guests are going to be. I don't know, but I do know the first episode will be Trixie Mattel with guest instructor Matt Wilpers, dropping again tomorrow.
So Peloton shared a couple posts spotlighting some of the various instructors' Halloween costumes.
Yes, and Jess King dressed up as a fortune teller, and she dressed up her belly as a crystal ball. And Cody was, what is that, Luigi?
It's Luigi. He's got the green hat on.
Yeah, I thought so. And then Rebecca and Andy are both in the slideshow, but they dressed up together as co-anchors of the Peloton news update, which we'll get to later if you kept my link in. Kristen McGee dressed up as something cool. I'm not really sure what's happening
like
there.
She's a snake? Well, that's also the pose she's doing. So.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe she's a cobra. Yeah. And then Camilla Ramon dressed up as a shark. Loved her blue leggings. Andy, the other half of the anchor costume. And then I also don't know what Callie is, but she looks great in her red outfit. And Robin Arzon at work dressed up as Barbie, and DJ John Michael you can't see him in that picture, but he was dressed up as Ken. So,
okay.
And they were in their boxes together. It was
Gotcha.
great. And then Marcel, she dressed up as a red flag. And Maddie. Oh, Maddie, I love you so much. He dressed up as a goblin. Kendall dressed up as Kim Possible.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know what this is.
Looks like Beetlejuice, maybe?
I don't
Winona
know.
Ryder from Beetlejuice?
It was like a haunting musical.
Yeah.
Her and Eric Yeager, they were both dressed up and they were like doing gymnastics and they were playing this haunting music. I'm not sure. Sam Yo, a vampire, very awesome vampire, and Susie Chan, an amazing skeleton. The makeup was just fantastic. I believe this is also Robin, I think. And I guess that's, no, that's Leanne. My camera's in front of her face. Leanne dressed up as, I guess, Cruella de Vil?
I'm assuming, yeah, it's Cruella de Vil.
Well, because she's dressed as a Dalmatian.
But she got her coat.
Yeah, she got her coat. Guess she doesn't like puppies.
Yeah.
And then Marcel from Germany dressed up as an awesome skeleton as well. And then I just thought this was fun to add in Travis, Maddie, and Maddie's boyfriend all dressed up as Winnie the Pooh characters. So we got Piglet, Pooh, and Tigger, and they were adorable.
And while we're on costumes, Robin Arzon had a little costume snafu.
Yeah, so they win as Ghostbusters. Her and Athena were the Ghostbuster, and Drew Butler was the
Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, so they didn't check the size for his costume, and it was the child size.
So it looks like the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man is wearing capris.
It does. I love it. It definitely says child costume.
That's funny.
Way to make it work. I'm impressed.
Kirra Michel was on the Healthy-ish podcast.
Yeah, and I just want to say that she is our Australian yoga instructor. So if you haven't had an opportunity to take a class with her and you're like, who are you talking about? That is who we are talking about. And her classes are really, really awesome. So,
and I think this podcast is, I mean, obviously you can get podcasts anywhere, but like I think it originates in Australia.
I agree. It does.
Hannah Frankson participated in a Black History Month panel. And if you're suddenly in a panic thinking it's February and you've lost 5 months of your life, it's because Black History Month in the UK is celebrated in October.
Yes, it is. And I believe some of the other instructors were there as well. And I think that they were celebrating in London, and they had, I think, Stormzy there as well. Okay. And so it was very cool. And even if they didn't have Stormzy there, if you look at the footage, they had all the instructors, they had meet and greets, there were lots of people there. And it just looks like they had a fabulous time.
So we referenced earlier Andy Speer and
Rebecca
Kennedy's Halloween costumes.
Yes, they are a couple. So they decided to do kind of a joint costume. This is hilarious. They are giving updates on all of the instructors. And
a couple doing Peloton news. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to sue Peloton.
Yeah, but it's a joke, because the thing is, these are so funny. They mentioned Jen Sherman, and they said that, I don't remember where she was seen, but
she was seen on 57th Avenue, still not giving a shit.
That was my favorite part of the whole thing. And then something about the Bruce Springsteen. Oh, she'd give a shit about that. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. I mean, it was good.
Speaking of Rebecca Kennedy, she ran into some kerfluffle with Instagram. She had an account for her dog, and it is no more the account.
The account. Yeah. Doggie's fine. Sunny's still beautiful and sitting right next to her, if you can watch her screen. Instagram just deactivated it, but there has been an update.
Oh.
Apparently this was recent, because it wasn't there last time I looked. One of the members helped her get the account reviewed and reinstated, but she was asking for help, and it worked. She crowdsourced help to get her Doggie's account back, and she was just like, it's just all of my memories. Like, it had all of Sunny's pictures and videos, so she was just really devastated about it. So I'm so glad it's back. Yay.
Selena Samuela did an Instagram live with Elise Kopecky. I think I'm saying that right.
I think you are as well. And remember, we had talked about her, Selena and Olivia were doing, they were going to be representing Milk for the New York City Marathon. Uh-huh. And they did that, and this chat was part of that. So Elise Kopecky was the author of Run Fast, Cook Fast, Eat Slow, which you might remember from like a bazillion years ago when we had Claire Shorenstein on the show. She referenced that book.
Oh, okay. I thought it sounded familiar, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's really, really cool that that Selena got a chance to do that. Very cool.
Sam Yo last week sharing his love of Back to the Future. This week sharing his love of both Ghostbusters and Legos.
Sam ought to come over and have movie night with us.
Yes.
He'd be right at home with us nerds.
Fit right in.
Him and Brian could do Legos while we watch movies. I loved the fast motion of watching all the. I loved seeing all of it come together.
Yeah, for sure.
So Kendall posted about that her schedule was changing. There were going to be more live classes and including a live class for shadowboxing weekly. So her times for her bike classes are going to be changing. And if you scroll down, we can see the rest of those changes. So it's going to be live classes on Saturday and Sunday. And then she's going to have a Monday class, a Wednesday class that's shadowboxing, and a Thursday class. So very cool.
So Emma Lovewell had an announcement this week about her newsletter that she sends out.
Yeah, she did. So she is going to move over to Substack. And apparently now people that want to stick around got to pay like $5 a month or something to have those newsletters. So, of course, outrage ensues. A lot of people are just like, whatever, it's fine. But there are a lot of people that are not really happy with it. And I get both takes on that, really. I mean, the outrage I don't understand. But just in general, it's the sense that the instructors are moving further and further away from people.
Yeah.
And looking to make money. But at the same time, like, I think they got to realize their worth, and they are worth it. Like, maybe you don't think it's fair. Maybe you don't think it's right.
But yeah, I mean,
they are names now. They are not just an instructor. They are a thing. And I think that in some cases it would be foolish to just leave that sitting on the table. Like, if somebody offered you a certain amount of money for your house, would you be like, oh, I don't want to ask that much for my house?
Yeah.
You would never do that. You would take the money.
Right.
So I kind of think that's not fair. And especially, we actually got some really shitty feedback last week because I didn't give Robin a hard time for doing some kind of Web3 thing because we don't even know what it is yet. And apparently that's I'm just awful for that because I didn't trash her, which I'm not going to do. Sorry, I have ethics. But anyway, I think that you're going to see more and more of this from instructors because they are seen as a commodity. Yeah. And I think that I'm not saying you got to like it. I'm not saying you got to be part of it. But I just think we're going to see more and more of these things.
But you probably need to make your peace with it or you're going to find yourself getting mad a lot.
Yeah, because like Logan Aldridge has subscriptions turned on Instagram, and I don't know how much he charges, but I know that it's kind of like Patreon, like people that pay to get the bonus episodes or whatever. It's like just an extra fee for extra content. It's not like you can't get to him or he's ungettable. But I mean, I don't know. They're working really hard and they need to capitalize on this while they can. Like, they're not going to be able to use this for the rest of their lives. I mean, there's going to come a time they cannot teach and have this money definitely rolling in.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're like athletes, right? I mean, they are athletes, but as a professional athlete, your career is finite. I mean, I think a fitness instructor's career is a little bit longer. Yeah. But this is also new territory, so who knows how long it's going to last?
Exactly. But nobody seems to get angry with people who are athletes getting endorsements. So I guess I don't understand why it's any different. I really don't.
If you don't like it, nobody's got a gun to your head.
Right. Anyway.
Tobias Hines. Did I say it right this time? Tobias.
Yes.
Just did his last class before Manaslu.
Yeah. So I was checking this out, and this event, I had a link in here, but I think you cut it. The link was explaining this event. It is 7 days long. Like, it starts on something like November 5th and goes, I mean, I may have the number of days wrong. I think it was November 5th to the 14th.
Gotcha.
It's a long event, and it's totally endurance based. So I am really excited to see how he does with this. I can't even imagine taking something like that on like that.
Yeah.
And it's on like one of the highest mountains in the world. It's not like it's just an ultra marathon.
Right.
And I say just in quotes because all of it's outside of my ability to even fathom. But at that altitude on top of it, it's like in the Himalayas.
Yeah.
Like,
that's next
crazy.
level. Yeah.
It is next level. I I really wish we could talk to him because I would love to ask him some questions. I am fascinated. He needs a documentary about this. Like, I love documentaries about stuff like this, and I need one. I need one stat. Peloton, make that happen.
And I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Selena, but she is training for an Ironman.
So the crazy thing about that is her baby's due like any day now. I mean, I don't know when her baby is due, but it's not that far.
Yeah.
So she just signed up for this Ironman. I tell you what, Selena Samuela is the bravest woman I know. To sign up for a half Ironman while pregnant when you've never done one.
Yeah.
What? While teaching Peloton? Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I can't wait to see how that goes. She is brave. Very brave. Good luck to both of our instructors. You will hear more here.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube, it's Angelo here to answer all of your fitness and nutrition questions. Hello.
Hi.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back.
Hey, Angelo, I hit record this time, so.
Not that she's ever forgotten.
I knew the answers last week. We'll see if I still know them this week.
All right. That's fair. So the first question that I have for you today is from Kristen Schuster. She says that she needs help understanding how to lose weight while eating enough protein and calories to train hard. How do you do it? She says she's either gaining 10 pounds or losing 10 pounds, and then she loses steam and gets exhausted from her hard efforts. She also gets up super early to work out. Should she be eating at 4 a.m. before she works out? She doesn't want to, but she thinks maybe she's supposed to.
All right. It was Kristen. What was her name?
Kristen, yes.
Kristen, that's a great question. I am going to, so I'd like to, this is the scenario that we'd love to talk to you about because there's a lot of nuance here. This is legit. Clearly, you're hustling, you're working hard. And I can tell from the tone of your question that you are doing so because when you're trying to lose weight, you're dropping 10 pounds, but then you're crashing. And if you're not cutting, then you're gaining. This is super common, especially with endurance athletes. So the answer is going to be we have to change from a baseline. In other words, if you don't know what you're doing each day and it's radically different, you're not going to know what to fix. So I could say eat more this or eat less that. But if all the other components of your diet are varied every day, it won't really have meaning. Now, if you basically have, within reason, a routine, now that could be breakfast, lunch, dinner. That could be breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, whatever your routine is, we need to find the mean and then increase from there. Now you have the added nuance of you're trying to do two things at the same time. And it's not cut and dry. It's not a simple matter of, you can only focus on performance or you can only focus on weight loss. Some people can get away with doing both at the same time, but it depends on what you're used to. It sounds like you're right on the edge because if you were able to take in enough to where your performance felt really good, I don't think you'd feel like you were crashing if you were losing a little bit of weight. So you're probably going to be best served by saying, okay, look at when are my races, when are my rides, what's my schedule look like for the next few months. And when you're doing the heavier training periods, don't worry about losing weight. Focus on maintaining your weight while increasing a little bit so that way you have greater performance and recovery. And then when you're getting on the other side of an event or a training period and you're going to deload a little bit, that would be a great time to focus on stripping a few pounds. Here's how to do it. You need a baseline meal plan. This is what we would tell our clients. You need a baseline meal plan that you're following that then flexes based on your activity. So your intra-training fuel would go up if you're training lots and lots of hours. So I have a gentleman right now that I'm training For Ironman, he's doing the big one. He qualified for Kona. But his training, his intra-training fuel can almost double his carb intake for the day because he's out training sometimes, 4 or 5 hours on a given day. So in those scenarios, his carb intake is way higher by virtue of he's getting so many grams of glycogen intake per hour of training. But his base meal plan, we only make small changes to over time. And that's where you want to get. So should you be eating early? I would do, that's pretty early. If you're going to be doing a long run or a long ride first thing in the morning, I would try and at least get a snack in. Something to put some fuel in your body, something that has some carbohydrates, but it does not need to be heavy. Otherwise, it'll bother your digestion. And then before it gets too late in the morning, have breakfast, optional whether or not you do a mid-morning snack, have a consistent lunch, have a consistent dinner. Start with carbs at each meal. If you want to start cutting some extra calories, start from the end of your day by pulling some carbs out of dinner. Likely that's not going to be near your training or your heavy training time period, so you'll be able to recover with the carbs in the part of the day that you actually need them. I know that's a very technical question with a lot of nuance to the answer, but it's have a baseline and make small adjustments. So instead of cutting 500 calories out or adding 100 grams of carbs, what you want to figure out is what are you getting on average each day? Increase 5-6%, then reevaluate a week later. Increase or decrease 5-6%, then evaluate a week later. And doing it that way, well, it emulates a kind of a simplified version of the process that our coaches do with their clients.
Yeah, it is, and it's very good advice. I know it is a lot. You're right, but it also is. It's a process that she can follow. So hopefully that helps for Kristen.
Hopefully something in there, Kristen, will trigger and will make sense. Will help you a little bit on that journey.
And if Kristen needs more detailed advice and she wants to reach out direct, or if other people want this sort of stuff tailor-made for their fitness journey, where can they find you?
metpro.co/TCO.
Awesome. Thank you.
We'd love to talk to you, Kristen.
Peloton celebrity sightings.
So Mariah Carey posted a picture of herself, or video of herself, ushering in the Christmas season. Apparently they don't celebrate Thanksgiving at the Carey household.
Yeah, she just went straight from Halloween right into Christmas.
Yeah, she's on a Peloton dressed up as like a witch, and then it like dissolves and she
morphs into riding a reindeer.
She's on
instead.
a reindeer in her Santa outfit.
And yes, I love the song. Yes, I will listen to it shamelessly.
Like, I know it's cool to hate on the song, but you're wrong.
I don't care what you say. It's a great song.
It's maybe the greatest Christmas song ever written. Like, yes, even better than White Christmas. And
I love both.
I love both as well. I'm a huge fan of Christmas music. And like, this is like from day one, I was just like, this song feels like it fell through a wormhole in time. Mm-hmm. It is a piece of pop perfection.
It is.
And it just is. And I get it gets played a lot, but you know what? It deserves to get played a lot. So
you will have to direct your hate elsewhere because we don't care. We are Christmas proof.
You got to deal with it for 30 days. You'll be fine.
Well, but
this, like, but yeah, like
November 1st is a little
to go
early.
From Halloween, yeah, it's like I feel like this is a sign of how much money she makes off the song. She's like, let's get it played for an extra 30 days.
I tell you what, I am looking forward to it in December.
Correct.
The day after Thanksgiving, let the music begin. The holiday decorations can arrive.
The rules when I was growing up, as laid down by my mother, Christmas doesn't start until you see Santa Claus in the Thanksgiving Day parade.
I will take it.
Then the Christmas season has officially begun.
Well, and we got to listen to Mama O'Keefe.
Is there anything more American than letting a major retailer decide when you start to celebrate holidays?
No, that is pretty darn American.
Yes. Yeah. So Macy's has decided when Christmas started.
They might send you to Gimbel's.
And of course, Cody had thoughts about the Mariah video as well.
Yes, and he was joined by Trixie. And if you don't know or you didn't get to see this, you absolutely must go check out the reel. They are having a reaction. They are like doing a live reaction to watching Mariah Carey usher in Christmas. It included such gems as I thought I was the first drag queen to ride a Peloton, and Cody saying something to the effect of, I guess we didn't play it enough in July. Snarky but fun, like in the best way.
And the final episode of Ashton Kutcher's Our Future Selves has dropped.
It has, and it features John Baptiste. And apparently, so Becs has been talking for months about how somebody told her she had a good voice.
Yeah.
And it was John Baptiste.
How about that?
So she's going to keep singing in her classes. And by the way, Becs, you do you. But if you haven't gotten a chance to check out that Our Future Selves, remember, it's the last one, and they're all gone. And now we have Cody's new series picking up where he left off.
Which I have to say is exactly the direction I said Peloton was trending
years ago.
It
is exactly what you said, you little trend spotter.
Peloton artist collaboration.
Another week, another artist collaboration, this time with Kendrick Lamar.
Yep. These classes start on November 2nd, and there's going to, part of this is going to be the Jermaine Johnson. There's one with Kendall. There's one with Just Sims, Tunde, and Cliff from Germany. So lots of great classes for this one.
In case you missed it.
We have new lane break classes.
Yeah, Spooky Season dropped on Halloween as kind of a little fun treat. 10-minute level featuring David Bowie, Muse, and Kashmir? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm too old to know.
Same. And also,
yeah, they dropped some other ones earlier in the week. Spinning Sessions, which is a 20-minute featuring Blaster Jacks, Gabri Ponte. Okay, I can't even pretend to know. Spinning Sessions, Volume 5. 10-minute featuring Hawk and Beige, Fire Beats, some other stuff that I don't know. And Spinning Sessions, Volume 6. 5-minute level featuring 71 Digits, Joe Stone, and more. It was to celebrate the Amsterdam dance event that occurs called Spinning Sessions or Spinning Records. That's why this was done. So that is, I know there are a lot of people that know these artists, and this is clearly a me thing that I don't.
Yes.
And it's very cool that they are doing things like this.
Thank
I love
you for
that.
translating that for those of us in our 50s. And finally, there's a new spiritual gangster Kindle Tool collection.
Yes. Part 2 dropped this week called Warrior Vibes, and very touchy on the time, but it did happen. And now you can get your lightning bolt set, and hopefully you saw it up on the website and grabbed it. I haven't checked today, but it's probably gone.
Peloton birthdays.
And we've got 3 birthdays this week. The first is former Peloton instructor Chase Tucker on November 5th.
Happy birthday, Chase.
And then
Mela on 11/9.
Thank you.
And Aditi on 11/10. Happy birthday, ladies.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Karen KJ Brady. Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. I feel like I know you by like 3 names because I see you on Instagram all the time, and we talk all the time on Instagram. So is now. Yeah, we'll get to that. But I see you on there, and you go by KJ, but you also go by Karen. And then of course you have your leaderboard name, and so there's a lot.
There is a lot. I should go by just one, but for some of these, I've just had them for so long.
Are you hiding from someone? Should we conceal who you are for your own safety, or for someone else's safety?
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Who knows why you're on the run?
All right. So when did Peloton enter your life and your fitness journey?
I knew about Peloton back when the commercial came out. I didn't see the problem with it because I was like, man, if my significant other got me a Peloton, he would be my favorite person.
Right? You'd be okay with that.
I would be fine with it.
Should we be concerned that he's not already your favorite person? Is everything okay over there?
Listen to Tom, already stirring the shit.
Already. But
Just been your 30
I was
seconds.
already attending spin classes at the gym. Okay. So everyone was like, well, you go to the gym. You don't need a Peloton bike at home.
Oh, that old
the pandemic
canard.
happened. When the pandemic happened, I was like, well, I still got running. This is fine. I don't need the gym. I can still run, until I got a little cocky on a run and my headlamp died. And I was like, oh, I run these streets all the time. I'll be fine. No, I hit a rock and sprained both of my ankles at the same time.
Oh my God. How did you do both?
Holy
oh my
cow,
God.
that's a big rock.
Yeah.
It was, well, like one of them hit it, and then I tried to counter with the other one and
went too far.
Managed to screw that one up too. So.
Oh, you poor thing. Yeah. Oh my
gosh.
I was
like, okay.
So how do you get around with 2 sprained ankles?
You hobble.
Not well. It was a lot of hobbling, and I was like, "I'll be fine." No, crutches will not work.
Yeah, and your husband's not going to help you because he knows you're not. He's not your favorite person. So he's like,
"You're on your own."
He's like, "You're on your own, lady. Why don't you get your favorite person to come help you? How about that?"
I ended up every day. I would be asking, "Can we get a Peloton bike? Can we get a Peloton bike?" And I live with my roommate, and she was like, "No, we don't need a Peloton bike. We don't." And I was like, "Okay, we don't, but I'm going to ask every day." Yeah. So I did that until like around October of 2020. She finally goes, "Okay, they dropped the price on the bike. We can get the Peloton bike." So
now is the time to strike.
Now is the time to strike. So we did that, and it delivered on October 13th of 2020, and the rest is history.
Ta-da.
Wow. I feel like I have talked to you on Instagram for longer than that. Is that my imagination, or has the world just been in a really weird place for this long?
I have known about you for longer because one of my spin instructors was like, "You need to check out the Clip Out. Crystal's a lot like you. You guys would really get along." So
that's funny.
That's how I found you guys before I even had the bike. So.
Oh, that's fabulous. Okay, so it's not in my imagination. So have you always been a runner?
No.
What? You haven't? When did you get into running?
No, I started running in 2011.
Oh.
So started doing 5Ks, worked my way up to a half marathon, which I ran in Chicago randomly. And then from there, everyone was like, "You're ready for a marathon." So I ran my first marathon in 2013, also in Chicago. So.
Oh, wow. Now, so what state do you live in?
I live in southern Indiana. I can literally see Louisville, Kentucky, where I live. So I'm just like right over the river. Is it
okay? I was going to say it must be separated by a river. That's how we are here in Missouri. Yeah. It's like if you look over at Illinois, you just
there it
is. Okay, so wow, you worked up to. So how many marathons have you done at this point?
Berlin was my 19th.
Wow,
so I've been 19. And,
so that's like what, 2 or 3 a year?
Technically, yes, but I got a little carried away in my first year of doing it and ran 9.
Whoa!
Also ended up with a torn hip labrum, so don't run 9 marathons in a year. It's not a good idea.
I don't think we were in danger of either of us doing that.
I figured.
Yeah. If I drive 26.3 miles, I'm winded.
Yeah, I mean, I could see doing one. Maybe like I have my eye on one for November of 2023, but I don't know about this whole 9 in a year.
I watched her run a marathon and I needed a nap.
Half marathon. I've never run. Oh well, no, I did.
Tread.
I walked it.
I was going to say you did the treadmill one. Yeah.
I did. I just don't feel like it counts. Number one, it was indoors, so you had kind of like that, like the incline was all level, and I didn't have to deal with like people
ups and downs,
and I could go to the bathroom whenever I wanted to, things like that.
Yeah.
But it also went very slowly, but it did get done. So I should not discount it.
You should not discount it. Absolutely.
I would tell anybody else that. I would tell them like it counts, but me, I'm like, it's whatever.
But you got a bike and not a tread.
Yeah. Yes. Correct. Explain. Is this because of the ankle thing? Is because
it was because of the ankle thing. I was like, I can cross train with the bike. So now every day I'm going, can we get a tread? Can we get a tread?
And do you have room in your
No.
like, okay.
That's what I keep getting told. There is no room. I was like, I will sell something. I will move something. Something can go in a closet. I will make room.
You don't need a dining room table. That's what I always say. You really don't.
Exactly. Well, I already got rid of that.
Oh,
so.
oh, okay.
Like, how often do you eat at the dining room table
Right?
anyway?
Right?
That's just
I don't.
a lie suburban America has fed us. No pun intended.
Yeah.
It's true.
Okay, but like, was your most recent marathon the 19th? Was that the 19th one?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So tell us about that. You did Berlin. I want to hear
I did
all
Berlin,
about that.
Yeah. Berlin was my 4th world major, so I still have 2 left. But I thought Berlin was one of the most fun marathons I've ever done. The crowds were amazing. We had a world record get broken there, which
that's exciting.
It was not me.
No, it wasn't you.
It was not me.
Most number of body parts sprained in a marathon. That's all you.
That could be me.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing really well. I was only 6 seconds off of my PR. And my PR
Wow.
and I have set that PR back in 2013 at my first marathon. So
Holy cow.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
9 years later, I'm bumping up on it again. So
That's exciting,
Yeah.
especially because people always say like you always hear that like as you get older, this gets harder. So if you're 9 years older, like in theory, you should be getting slower, but you're
Right.
not. Like you're
Correct.
knocking up against
No.
that. That's
Well,
amazing.
I mean, 6 seconds slower. Like, let's be fair.
Do you want me to hit him?
I take shadow boxing. I can do it.
She's like, I got this.
She's like, we are a lot alike, Crystal. We're both not married to our favorite person.
Okay. So what world majors have you done and what's left?
I've done Chicago. Twice. I've done New York. I've done Boston twice, and I've done Berlin.
Okay. Why does America get so many?
I don't know, but they're thinking about adding some more. So,
Are they?
Right. Yeah. Right now, I still have Tokyo and London to do. They're also the 2 hardest to get into.
Oh.
So we'll see. The London Marathon draws on Monday, so we'll see if I get in.
Here's my theory on why America has so many.
Oh, boy.
No, this is a real theory.
Okay.
Because in other countries, they're more walking driven, and we took up jogging because we needed to.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good point, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my theory.
Okay.
In other countries, they're like, what do you need to run for? You're walking everywhere.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Like,
We're like, we don't walk anywhere. Well,
we
I mean,
don't.
in some cities they do,
Right.
but we are not.
That's true.
Midwest is not
That's
one
true.
of those places.
Yeah.
I don't know about how Indiana is, but here in Missouri, we don't walk
No.
anywhere.
No.
You got to go to the park to walk.
you got to drive to walk.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yep. Same here.
So what made Berlin like the most fun? I mean, I know the world record thing. That was probably amazing.
That was really cool. I didn't know about that until I was done.
Oh.
But
They don't have like a
was really
flare
fun.
they shoot off or something.
that would make it so much easier. But
Yeah.
No.
I had like a group of friends, and like they were trying to make it to different kilometer marks to cheer me on, and they had 4 times planned out, but they only managed to get to 3 of them.
Oh.
Hey, that was 3 times that I got to hear them go, "Go, Karen!" So,
They couldn't make it that 4th one because you were so fast. You beat them there.
Yeah, you beat them.
which has happened at Disney races. I have beat the Disney monorail to Magic Kingdom, and my friends have missed me at the castle.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
So is it true at the Berlin one, instead of handing out cups of water, it's beer?
They do have beer.
Oh, really? I was being stupid.
No, they actually do. They do have beer, but they also have like sports drinks and water. So
you can choose.
Yeah.
You can
you
choose.
can choose.
Which did you choose?
I cannot drink beer, so
Oh,
I
right. Now, so does that have to do with your Instagram handle and leaderboard
Yes.
name? Okay, yeah. So let's talk about that. Tell us about that.
Okay, I go by the Sealy Athlete, and I came up with that when I thought I was going to be doing triathlons, but then I learned I don't like to swim.
Oh, okay.
So took that out of the equation. But the Sealy Athlete has stuck, and I just did it because I never was really into sports until I got into running. So a celiac and an athlete, and it worked. So
it's good, and it's very memorable too. I've always it's like some people just kind of stand out. Number one, because of the conversations you have, but number two, because you remember their names, and I've always remembered your name. So I think that's a really good one. Like I feel like you probably have you gotten shout outs, or do people like shy?
I've gotten a few. Actually, Jenn Sherman was my first shout out on like a football ride, and I was dying. So I was like trying to like celebrate, but I'm like, I'm so dead right now.
So has it been difficult with celiac? Do you have to like eat differently to fuel for a marathon or for big events? How do you do that?
Yes. Well, actually for Berlin, it was really hard because while Germany is really good, I'm also a vegetarian. While Germany's really good with vegan vegetarian, actually I brought a lot of food with me. Just packed it in my carry-on.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of bagels and rolls and stuff and everything. And it's my first time doing a 3-day carb load before a marathon too.
So you had a lot of things you were managing.
Yes, and I was actually getting to the start line, and my friends were walking me to like the security checkpoint, and I was like chewing on like an energy bar or something. I was like, I'm so tired of chewing right now.
It does take a lot of food to power a marathon. People do not realize how much food it takes. It's a lot.
Yes. Yeah. So, so I ended up like I barely ate out when I was in Berlin, and before the marathon, not at all.
Okay. So you brought the food with you. Was it because like you could get things like bagels here that were gluten free? Is that what you did?
Yes. And I wasn't sure what would be available. And I did find a few products like at the grocery store and everything, but I wasn't completely sure I'd be able to. So just in case, I brought stuff that I knew I could eat.
That's smart.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, from a MetPro perspective, we constantly are telling people to travel with their food because it's like, you know what you're going to have. And unless you know you're going to be able to get Instacart or like a grocery store nearby that you can drive to, it's so much easier to take your snacks at the very least, because then you have more control over what you're going to do. And when you're doing something like a marathon, and you have so much that you're trying to fuel for, and you want to go into it feeling really good. I mean, I bet that had a lot to do with you being 6 seconds off your PR, being that fueled.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that was out of the 19 marathons I've done, that's the first time I've ever done that. And that's the first time I've ever come that close to my PR. So I was like, this actually works.
Yeah. Eating is awesome.
Yay, food.
But it's true. Like we do kind of in our society kind of teach ourselves sometimes that we shouldn't be eating.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like female athletes are the worst about it too. Absolutely. 100%.
I constantly get messages from people that like, they know that I do MetPro, so they'll ask me questions about like running, and they think they're eating enough. And I'm like, no, like you are not even close. Like more food. And you don't have to go from like 1,000 calories to 1,800 overnight, but if you add in, because you will gain weight if you do that, but if you add it in slowly, you're not going to at all, because you're burning it off so fast. Those miles you're putting on, they just gone. It's just gone. So when you were going back to Berlin, did you get a chance to go to the Peloton store while you were there?
Yes, it was actually my friends hate me. I was like, this is on the schedule for this day. We are going to make sure before we go on our boat tour to swing by the Peloton store. So yeah, we did. Got my shirt.
Yay! So.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you can't go all the way to Berlin and go to the Peloton Berlin store.
Yeah.
You can't
Absolutely
do that.
Not.
Were there a lot of people there?
Well, we were there right when they opened. So I was the first person in there, and I was like, where's your city stuff? So they showed me all that, and I was like, do I get the sweatshirt? Do I get the t-shirt? Do I just get it all?
Did you have room in your suitcase for all?
Right. I ended up just getting the t-shirt because all my friends were like, you have to pack still, and we have to go to Munich.
That's the plan.
Still,
you brought the food, right? So you bring the food.
You eat the food.
You eat the food, and it creates room for the things to bring home.
And he wonders why I spend money. See?
I've never wondered. Like, that's never been the wonder about the money spending, just for the record.
Whatever, Tom. Now, do they speak English in the store? I figured that they did. I feel like that's kind of like almost a dumb question, but I don't know how much in Germany people speak English. I feel like there's a lot of people that speak English in Germany.
Yes, actually, I tried to prepare because I wasn't sure, and I tried to use Duolingo, but I learned sentences like "my husband's a duck," And I was like, well, I'm not going to use that in conversation ever.
That's really cool though. And you said that they even had like they were like had a thing in the studio that they were doing.
Yeah, the Munich store actually, which also was on my schedule. I have to go to Peloton Munich. So when we went to Munich after the marathon to go to Oktoberfest, I was like, we have to go to Peloton Munich. And all my friends were like, oh my God, okay. So,
enough with the Peloton.
Right. We went in there and they were like, oh, we have this thing tonight where we're going to live stream Eric's Oktoberfest rides. And they're like, you should come and ride in the store. And, you know, we're going to do a costume contest. So I was not able to go because we had plans to go to Hofbräu House that night. So I was like, I want to go. Yeah. And of course, one of my friends was like, well, if Eric was going to actually be in the store, I would totally go.
Then I'd make an exception.
Suddenly going to the Peloton stores back in play. You're not getting mocked. Totally.
You couldn't make that happen, though. You couldn't be like, Eric, just come over to Germany.
Come over to Germany. I wish I had that kind of pull, but I don't.
How far away is Berlin to Munich? Like, are we talking like an hour, 2 hours? Like...
It was about a 4-hour train ride. So.
Oh, okay. That's a long time, actually.
It's a pretty long.
I have no concept of how large Germany is or how far cities are apart. It's
when I think of England, everything is 20 minutes outside of London.
Right.
Like that's.
Is that the same with Germany, Tom? Is that how you feel about Germany?
Yes, everything is 20 minutes outside of London.
I know you can like ride the train from Germany to London, and so in my mind it can't be that far, right? But I'd have no idea. So
I don't know. I went to Austria, but
wow,
that was about venturing out of Germany. That was about all I did while I was on that trip. So
I bet that was cool, though.
Like a little Von Trapp.
It was. Yeah. I went up on an Alp.
I was wondering if you got to see the Alps. Oh, that's so cool.
You saw an Alp.
I took a cable car for like 99.8% of it, but then I walked the rest of it to the top.
Very nice. So. Very nice.
That's a lot, though, once the air starts to get thin.
It is.
We did that in the Smoky Mountains, which are no Alps.
Well, we did that in the Rockies.
No, we've never been to the Rocky Mountains together, honey. That's Colorado.
And we did go to Colorado together. Yeah, honey. We definitely did.
Smoky Mountains, remember, we drove to the top and then walked the last little bit.
But we also did that on the train ride in Colorado.
Oh, the train thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In Durango. Is Durango the Rockies?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I'm not good with geography. For any British listeners that are mad what I think about the geography of England.
He does in America, too.
I don't know American geography either, so like don't feel singled out. Honestly, I thought Colorado was 20 minutes outside of London. So I don't know, man. I just get in the car and do what Google tells me.
Which is going to be tough if you're going to London.
I think so. It'll tell me what it tells me.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So do you have another running journey planned? I assume you want to get to these other majors.
I do. Like, I'm hoping to get into the London Marathon on the lottery, which is Monday.
Monday, so...
if not, I might try to do it through a charity.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So,
do you have to raise, like, I know for the New York City Marathon, it's like, I mean, it's a pretty good chunk of change you got to raise. It's not small. Is it even bigger for London, or is it like the same ballpark?
I want to say what I saw was about $5,000.
That's about the same.
It's about the same.
I think
not like Boston Marathon levels. Boston Marathon can be like 10,000 and up.
Oh, so. I thought it was, but Boston, you got to qualify like the times.
But now the dollar's so strong compared to the euro. Like that's it's gonna help you out, right? I don't know.
I don't think that's the
Seems like it would work.
If only that was the case.
It's they got all that metric money over there.
So your plan is 2023 to do London.
To do London, 2024 hopefully to do Tokyo.
And you're hoping by 2024 there'll be a Tokyo Peloton store.
Oh,
that would be nice.
That would be
then I could go to that one and drive my friends crazy.
Yeah. Well, if you get to go to London, I'm sure you're going to do that too.
Oh, I've already said we have to go to Peloton Studios London. We have to do classes, and they're like, no, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, you don't go all the way to London and not go to Peloton Studios London. No, I mean, all the instructors are going to be. You gotta go. Besides, Peloton Studios London is like Peloton Studio New York was 3 years ago. Like it's so much quainter. I mean. You got to go while you can.
Exactly.
I mean, even next year, it may not be like that. So who knows?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that'll be very exciting. I hope you get in. That'll be awesome.
Thank you. I do too.
Yeah, those lotteries stress me out, man. It's like.
Yeah, they're insane. Like I got lucky with my first Chicago Marathon that it hadn't gone to lottery yet.
So, oh, wow.
I entered as a new marathoner and I just got in. It was fine.
Wow. That never happens.
Yeah. And then the next year they went to lottery.
What about London? Do you have like a cutoff time, or is it like anybody can go?
If you live in the UK, you can actually qualify for it. But if you live outside of the UK, you can't. You actually have to do it through an international ballot for the lottery.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
It does,
like the locals do it. Yeah.
I mean, I get that. Yeah.
So, do you have a preferred instructor?
Bradley Rose.
That was quick.
Yeah,
she was on
it wasn't even a hesitation.
We didn't hear any of that. Well, I love them all.
Right.
No,
she's like the
Bradley
rest
Rose.
of them can go to hell.
Yeah.
It's Bradley Rose. They can all die in a fire as long as I got Bradley Rose.
As long as Bradley is safe.
Yes.
Now, okay, so that's for the cycling. Do you ever do like outdoor classes, and do you have like tread instructors?
I do take a lot of the runs, like either on my treadmill at work or outside. I'll do like the treadmill runs and just ignore the instructions. But usually that's with Becs or Susie.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Oh my God, they're amazing, right?
Yes, love them.
Both of them are so fantastic. Okay, so, and what about like, do you ever do strength? Do you ever do like all the other Pilates and all that other kind of stuff?
I haven't gotten into Pilates. I have gotten into like the hardcore workouts. I've been doing more strength training. I've especially gotten into like the core workouts. I've pretty much done every 20-minute, every 15-minute one.
Wow.
I'm working on the 10-minute ones. So
that's a lot of core.
It's a lot of core, but it's actually really good for runners to have that strong core. So
Amen.
Sure.
Especially since I tend to have hip issues. So it's been really good to do that. So
I just thought you were trying to see, like, can you sprain your core?
I mean, I sprained my hand the other day trying to open a jar of garlic.
No, you didn't.
I did.
So it's so important to eat fresh and local. That's why they tell you that. It's not just about supporting the local community. It's about preventing sprains from the jars.
You gotta, yep.
At least I don't need my hand to go running.
That's true.
That is true.
I did warn my coach when I hired her. I was like, I injure myself in stupid ways. Just be aware.
I will surprise and delight you with the ways that I can find to hurt myself.
I have a garlic-based injury right now.
That's right.
Not many people can say that.
She's like, are you a vampire? What is happening?
So I see all of your beautiful medals behind you. Are those all from marathons? Are those 5Ks in there too?
Most of those are from half marathons, and most of them are from Kentucky. Those are my local ones. Okay. I do have some of my more important ones, like this one's Berlin. And
very nice.
Boston, New York, and Chicago. So
oh, that's so
cool. More important ones there.
Yeah. That's neat. Someday, maybe I'll have a whole wall full. I don't know.
Just buy them on eBay.
Just buy them on eBay.
Yeah.
They do sell them on there.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it that way. I want to earn them.
That's cheating. It's cheating.
Find an estate sale for an elderly runner.
No, I want to do it the right way. I gotta do the actual work.
Look, it's the 1904 Olympics. I got bronze.
Okay, so have you ever made it to any of the New York studio?
No, I've been outside of it. I was there in March for the New York half marathon, and nice. I got to stand outside of it and pose, and the security guard was really nice and moved out of the way. I was like, I'm sure this happens all day.
Yeah, they're like,
yeah, I have no doubt. I mean, we see the pictures, so yeah.
We know. It's always tough when you're like stalking the instructors though, and you just kind of stand there and wait for them. That gets awkward. Yeah. It's like
just a little bit. I'm just standing waiting.
Yeah. Don't mind me.
Oh, is this where they come in and out?
I didn't know.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Oh, what a coincidence. I didn't know Bradley Rose would be here between 10:15 and 10:17.
Well, she's not been to London. Give her time.
Yeah, but she's got it mapped out. I got no doubt.
Got it totally planned out.
Yes.
That's right.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. When it's your favorite, you jump through all the hoops, all of them.
Oh, yeah.
The next time we see her medal is going to be, here's my medal from Berlin and New York. Here's my restraining order from the United Kingdom. Those are fun. Most people only get American ones.
Now, why is Bradley Rose your favorite? What's?
I have loved him from his day one.
Okay.
From his day one. And I didn't even take his ride first. My roommate actually did.
Oh.
And I just listened to it. I was like, who is this guy? He's fantastic. So
He's very cheeky. He's very cheeky.
Is. His classes always make me laugh. When I was having a really rough time in my training last year, I took like a bunch of his rides, and he would always put me in a better mood. So from his day one, he was just the perfect match. And he reminds me of the 10th Doctor from Doctor Who.
Yes! David Tennant, right? Yes.
She said the same thing from day one.
From day one.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude is David Tennant.
Yes, absolutely.
I think he's okay with being compared to David Tennant if it's Doctor Who, not if it's, what was it, Jessica? I'm blanking on the Marvel show where he was the bad guy.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The dark one. It's like a dark show. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah.
So do you have any advice for people just entering the world of Peloton?
I would say hide the leaderboard. That was one thing that really helped me. I would get into the class. I would high five the people I know and hide the leaderboard and just do my thing and not worry about my place.
Yeah.
I would also say don't sleep on the stretching and the foam rolling classes.
That is great advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really great advice.
For sure.
How many miles a week do you run?
Usually I'm in like the high 40s.
That's a lot.
So, it's a lot. It's less than a lot of people, but since I'm so accident prone, my coach makes sure that she keeps my mileage lower, and it works for me.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the secret, right? Finding what works for you.
It is.
Yeah.
Finding what works. Everyone's different.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. We greatly appreciate it. Before we let
Thanks
you go,
for having me.
remind everybody where they can find you in all the places.
On Instagram, I am the Silly Athlete. On Twitter, I am Captain Keeks. And on Facebook, I am Karen Brady.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Clip Out.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. Until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and the Peloton leaderboard at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon, patreon.com/The Clip Out. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep pedaling
And running.
Clip in.